The door clicked shut in Elena's face. She stood barefoot on the freezing porch, one hand gripping her swollen stomach, the other pounding against the wood. "Marcus," she cried. "Open the door." My water broke. Through the frosted glass, her husband's shadow didn't move. Inside, voices went quiet. Forks stopped scraping plates. Someone whispered, "Is she okay?" Then Marcus's voice came through the door, low and sharp. "I told you to wait." Elena bent forward as another contraction tore through her. "I can't wait. You're embarrassing me," he hissed. The porch light flickered over her nightgown. Across the street, a neighbor's curtain shifted. Then another porch light came on. Elena hit the door again, weaker this time. "Please, the baby." That was when headlights swung into the driveway. A woman jumped out of a car, already reaching for a medical bag. "I'm a doctor," she shouted. How long has she been like this? Elena couldn't answer. She slid down against the railing, shaking. The doctor looked from Elena to the locked door. Then Marcus finally opened it 3 inches. His face wasn't scared. It was annoyed. The doctor froze. Her eyes narrowed like she had just recognized a nightmare wearing a new suit. And then she said, "I know exactly what you just did to her." Marcus's hand tightened on the door frame. For the first time all night, he had no answer. Behind him, his dinner guests stood in the hallway with pale faces, still holding their wine glasses. Elena saw the polished table, the candles, the untouched plates, everything Marcus had cared about more than getting her to the hospital. The doctor knelt beside Elena and checked her pulse. "Stay with me. What's your name?" "Elena," she whispered. "How far along are you?" 38 weeks. The doctor's jaw tightened. "Someone call 911 now." Marcus stepped onto the porch. "There's no need for drama." She gets anxious. The doctor looked up at him. "Move." He didn't. And that was when Elena realized the doctor wasn't just angry. She knew Marcus. The ambulance doors slammed shut as Elena cried out through another contraction. Marcus sat across from her with his arms folded, staring at the floor like he was trapped in an inconvenience, instead of watching his wife struggle to breathe. Dr. Naomi Chen adjusted the IV in Elena's arm. "How long were you outside?" Elena swallowed hard. I don't know," Marcus answered for her. 10 minutes, maybe 15. Dr. Chen didn't even look at him. I asked her. Silence filled the ambulance except for the siren and Elena's uneven breathing. Another contraction hit. Elena grabbed the rail beside her. "Okay," Dr. Chen said calmly. "Breathe through it." Marcus sighed loudly. "This is exactly what I mean." She panics and makes everything worse. Dr. Chen finally turned toward him. "Your wife is in active labor. She's been dramatic all pregnancy." Elena closed her eyes. Because part of her still wanted to believe he didn't mean it the way it sounded. But memories kept surfacing anyway. Marcus refusing to leave work when she fainted in the kitchen 2 months earlier. Marcus taking over their finances after she stopped teaching. Marcus laughing in front of friends when she said she was scared about complications. "You read too much online," he had told her. Tonight had started the same way. Contractions hit during dinner while Marcus entertained 2 investors in the dining room. Elena had quietly pulled him aside near the staircase. "I think we need to go," she whispered. Marcus glanced toward his guests. "Not tonight." "Marcus, I'm serious. You always do this when attention isn't on you." When the pain worsened, she came downstairs again, holding her stomach. One investor stood halfway out of his chair. "Should somebody call?" "No." Marcus cut in quickly. "She just needs to lie down." But Elena had grabbed his arm. "Please." His smile disappeared instantly. "Go outside if you're going to keep interrupting." She thought he was joking, until he walked her to the front door, until he opened it, until he pushed it shut behind her. Back in the ambulance, Elena felt tears sliding into her hairline. Dr. Chen gently lifted Elena's wrist to check her pulse. Then she paused. Faint yellow bruises circled Elena's skin. Marcus noticed immediately. She bruises easily. Dr. Chen's eyes lifted slowly toward him. Interesting. We're wasting time focusing on nonsense, Marcus snapped. Can we just get to the hospital? Dr. Chen ignored him. Why did nobody call emergency services for almost 40 minutes? Marcus leaned back. I already told you she exaggerates. No, Dr. Chen interrupted. You told me she panics. That's not the same thing. Marcus's jaw tightened. For the rest of the ride, Dr. Chen watched him more than she watched the monitors. And when the ambulance finally stopped outside the hospital, Elena heard the doctor quietly tell a nurse waiting at the doors, pull every prior incident connected to Marcus Morales. Marcus paced the hospital hallway with his phone pressed to his ear. No, don't respond to anything online yet, he hissed. People don't know the full story. Across the waiting room TV, muted neighborhood security footage played beneath a local headline banner, "Pregnant woman left outside during medical emergency." One of the dinner guests had apparently uploaded the video. Marcus lowered his voice. Take it down, but more notifications kept flooding his screen. Neighbors commenting, parents from Elena's old school recognizing her. People asking why a man would lock his wife outside while she was in labor. Inside her room, Elena sat in a wheelchair while nurses monitored the baby's heartbeat. The pain had intensified, but something else hurt worse now. The growing realization that everyone outside those walls had seen what Marcus really looked like. A nurse adjusted her blanket gently. Your doctor's advocating hard for you. Elena frowned. Why does she hate him so much? The nurse hesitated. You should probably ask her. Before Elena could respond, angry voices erupted in the hallway. Marcus, you're making assumptions based on one emotional moment, he snapped. Dr. Chen stood across from him, perfectly calm. You locked your pregnant wife outside. I was trying to de-escalate her. You delayed medical treatment. Marcus lowered his voice when he noticed nearby staff watching. Careful, you don't know me. Dr. Chen stepped closer. Oh, I do. Marcus's expression shifted. Not anger this time. Recognition. Elena slowly rolled herself closer to the cracked doorway. Dr. Chen folded her arms. 7 years ago, St. Catherine's ER. Woman named Talia. Marcus immediately looked around to see who was listening. I have no idea what you're talking about. You brought her in nearly unconscious after refusing to call emergency services for hours. That's not what happened. She kept apologizing to you while she was bleeding internally. The hallway went silent. A nurse at the station stopped typing. One of Marcus's dinner guests had just stepped off the elevator carrying flowers and froze mid-step listening to the conversation. Elena felt cold all over. Talia? She whispered. Marcus looked toward her so fast it almost seemed panicked. Elena, don't listen to this. Dr. Chen didn't stop. You used the same words tonight, she said. She's emotional. She's dramatic. She just wants attention. That's enough, Marcus snapped. The investor standing near the elevators slowly lowered the flowers. Marcus noticed him too late. Mr. Morales, the investor said carefully, maybe I should come back another time. Marcus hurried toward him. This is being twisted completely out of proportion. But the investor's eyes drifted toward Elena in the wheelchair, toward the bruises on her wrist, toward the nurses staring at Marcus like they already knew the truth. Then Marcus lost control. She always makes me look like the bad guy, he shouted. The words echoed through the entire floor. Nobody spoke. Dr. Chen finally answered, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. No one forced you to lock a woman in labor outside. At the end of the hallway, 2 security officers turned the corner and started walking directly toward Marcus. The baby's heartbeat dropped twice in less than a minute. Suddenly, the delivery room exploded into motion. Page surgery now! Get anesthesia ready! Move, move! Elena gripped the bed rails as nurses rushed her down the hallway. Bright ceiling lights blurred above her while another contraction ripped through her body. What's happening? She cried. Dr. Chen stayed beside her. The baby's in distress. We need to move quickly. Outside the operating area, Marcus shoved past a security officer. That's my wife. And she needs medical care, the officer replied, blocking him again. Marcus pointed toward Dr. Chen. She's turning everyone against me. Dr. Chen didn't even slow down. Inside pre-op, Elena struggled to breathe through the panic. Nurses attached monitors while another adjusted oxygen over her face. Then someone entered carrying a phone. Doctor, the nurse said quietly, the neighbor brought this. Dr. Chin watched the screen for several seconds. Her expression hardened. She turned the phone toward Elena. The video showed her outside the house, barefoot, crying, banging weakly against the door. Then Marcus opened it just enough to speak. You are not ruining this dinner. I need a hospital. Elena sobbed on the recording. You need to calm down. And then, clearly visible on camera, he shut the door again, locked it. Elena stared at the screen in horror, because hearing it back sounded worse than she remembered. Outside, Marcus's voice echoed from the hallway. She's recording selectively. That's not the whole conversation. A nurse quietly took the phone. Hospital administration already copied the file. Another contraction hit hard enough to make Elena cry out. Dr. Chen squeezed her shoulder. Focus on your baby right now. But Elena grabbed her wrist. You knew him before tonight. Dr. Chen hesitated only a second. Years ago, she said quietly, a woman came into my ER after delayed treatment. Her condition became permanent because help came too late. Elena felt sick. He did this before? Dr. Chen chose her words carefully. Different details, same pattern, pieces slammed together in Elena's head all at once. Marcus insisting on attending certain appointments with her. Marcus canceling one prenatal visit after she showed up with bruising on her arm. Marcus answering questions directed at her before she could speak. Not protection, control. Outside the room, raised voices erupted again. Hospital administration. Security. Marcus. Then another voice cut through the chaos. Marcus Morales? The hallway suddenly went quiet. 2 police officers stepped into view. One held a notepad. We need to ask you some questions regarding reckless endangerment. Marcus looked toward Elena's room. For the first time since she met him, he looked afraid. Then Dr. Chin faced him across the hallway and said, this time someone survived long enough to tell the truth. Marcus stood frozen between the 2 officers while hospital staff watched from the nurse's station. What exactly are you accusing me of? He demanded. One officer kept his voice calm. Right now, we're gathering statements regarding delayed medical care and possible domestic abuse. This is insane, but nobody rushed to defend him. Not the investors, not the dinner guests, not even the neighbors who had arrived after recognizing Elena from the viral video. Inside recovery, Elena lay exhausted beneath dim hospital lights while her newborn daughter slept beside her in a clear bassinet. The tiny rise and fall of the baby's chest was the first steady thing Elena had seen all night. Dr. Chen entered quietly. Elena, she said gently, how are you feeling? Elena looked at her daughter for a long moment before answering, like I almost lost her. Dr. Chen pulled a chair closer. For the first time since the nightmare started, someone explained everything without rushing or hiding pieces. 7 years earlier, Marcus had brought another woman, Talia, into the emergency room long after she needed help. Dr. Chen remembered the details because Talia had apologized constantly while barely able to stay conscious. She kept saying she didn't want to upset him, Dr. Chen said quietly. Elena's stomach turned. Dr. Chen continued carefully. Marcus controlled every conversation. He answered questions for her, minimized her pain, delayed getting help because he didn't want outside attention. What happened to her? She survived, Dr. Chen answered, but the complications changed her life permanently. Elena covered her mouth. All the moments she had excused suddenly looked different. Marcus taking over her finances after she stopped working. Marcus checking her phone to reduce stress. Marcus mocking her whenever she cried. Marcus insisting everyone else misunderstood him. And tonight, locking her outside while she begged for help. Tears slid silently into Elena's hairline. I kept defending him, she whispered. Dr. Chen shook her head gently. That's common when someone spends years making you doubt your own instincts. A soft knock interrupted them. One of the officers stepped into the room. Ma'am, several witnesses provided statements, including the guests from the dinner. Elena looked up slowly. What did they say? That your husband mocked your contractions before escorting you outside. The officer paused. One guest also confirmed he ignored repeated suggestions to call emergency services. Outside the room, Marcus's raised voice echoed briefly, then stopped when another officer warned him to lower it. By morning, the fallout had spread everywhere. The investor formally withdrew from Marcus's business deal. His company's board announced an internal review after the video circulated online. Neighbors who once admired Marcus now avoided looking at him while police escorted him through the hospital lobby. And for the first time in years, Elena wasn't the one feeling trapped. A hospital advocate helped her file an emergency protective order before discharge. Her sister arrived that afternoon after driving through the night. The second Elena saw her, she broke down completely, not from fear anymore, from relief. 3 months later, Elena stood outside a small townhouse, holding her daughter against her shoulder while movers carried in donated furniture. The court had granted temporary custody protections. Marcus was barred from contacting her directly. His legal team still sent messages through attorneys, but Elena stopped reading them. She returned to teaching part-time once her recovery stabilized. Slowly, she rebuilt a life that didn't revolve around avoiding someone else's anger. Some nights were still hard, but silence no longer scared her. One early morning, Elena pushed her daughter's stroller through a quiet park as sunlight broke across the trees. Her phone buzzed again. Another voicemail notification from Marcus's attorney. Elena glanced at the screen, then locked the phone and kept walking. The night he locked her out was the last moment he ever controlled her life.